to talk of future, at times I think that during COVID pandemic, we had a lot of virtual discussions, and definitely the COVID pandemic era, it has seen a paradigm shift, and more than a shift, it is a realization that yes, digital is a thing, and I think I see that era also as a disruption. I think because whole education system went into a virtual mode, then the blended mode, or you can say a hybrid mode, and successfully executed by leaders like you. It was a big challenge, and you accepted that challenge and came out as a winner. And I see today's time as a future of that time. That yes, the disruption is happening, but still a very pertinent question: that are we ready for future disruption of harnessing next gen technology in K12 education? So let me start with Mr. Amol Arora, Vice Chairman and MD of SHEMROCK, SHEMFORD Group of Schools. Uh, what has been your experience, Amol, about using these next gen technology, and what change have you seen post COVID in using technology in school education?
Yes, thank you. I think it was a rude awakening for everybody where somehow the school system had become a dinosaur in terms of what's happening in the world outside and what was happening in the school was totally cut off. So when COVID happened, I think it forced that status quo to change. Everyone had to change, and schools did change, whether for your love for ensuring children learning or just for mere survival. Because if you're not going to give any value to parents, parents will not pay the fees. And if as a teacher you're not relevant into the new ecosystem of teaching online, what tools to use, how to teach online, then nobody pays you your salary. So whatever worked for different people, I think it was something which forced everyone to change. The same teacher who would check whether, acha mouse itna chalane pe, how much does a cursor move? The same teachers after a few months had become Instagram superstars also, where they were teaching on YouTube, they were putting their own thing. So that transition was really, really good. And I think, of course, it was just we all knew it was a temporary thing. It's never going to replace a real classroom. But it was, chalo, something better than nothing. Uh, Going forward, I think what has happened is this has forced us to evaluate. Everyone was struggling. Everyone's trying different tools. It has opened our minds to the things that could happen. Otherwise, I always saw tech as the perennial bridesmaid for education. The next big thing is going to happen. It's going to happen. Kabhi hota nahi tha. Ultimately, it came down to same class 12th marks, NCRT definitions, which you also did, I did, and still our kids are also doing the same thing. So now schools have experienced better ways of learning. Some things have worked. And I think the role of technology, where we keep calling it disruptive and all, I think it's overhyped. I think role of technology is going to be a tool in the hands of a human being. And that's where that role should remain. That's how it should be sold, and that's how it can achieve also. So whether it is for today, we are using technology for better homeschool communication, for supplementing the classroom learning in the classroom, at home learning. It's helping in better administration of the schools today because of technology. We are seeing things like AR, VR, and coming into technology into schools, so that it will be a supplement to increase the children's understanding of concepts, but let it remain till that level. And I think if we leave it as a tool, then I think it will achieve its purpose. It's, ed tech is not tech ed, it's ed tech. Education pehle, tech baad mein. So let it be ed tech, and I think that's, if we keep it, our expectations at that level, it is sold by the vendors with that kind of expectations, and teachers also know ki yahin tak rehna hai, and I think it has a substantial role to play, and schools which use tech effectively will obviously have an edge over schools that don't.
Rightly mentioned by you, Mr. Amol, that yes, it should be like ed tech only and not tech ed. And definitely technology should always be seen as an enabler. And it has been like that. And surely this may be a debatable point that are we overdoing technology, or we are not? So with that question, I'll be coming to you, Mr. Sudhir Kukreja, co-founder of Credence International School. So what do you think? Like, there were some valid points raised by Mr. Amol, that those teachers who are, even thinking that if you move a mouse where the cursor go, now they are becoming social media stars like on Instagram and on all these platforms. So do you think how much it adds to the real delivery of education, or does it make an impact? So what is the scenario?
Well, I think for us to understand this scenario, the topic that we have, are we ready to harness this in the coming days? The most relevant and the most important thing to be first defined here is the word we. So when you put this topic across and say, are we ready? Let's just try and answer, who is this we? Are we talking about the most elite schools across Mumbai, Delhi, Bangalore, and Hyderabad? Are we talking about the most extreme rural Anganwadis and maybe the rural segment of the society? Or are we talking about the mid-market masses of India? The moment you delve into this kind of analysis, because this is what India is, right? So what is the perspective in which you are talking about this will give you a different answer, yeah? So the moment you try and look at these three different V's here, you will get three different answers. So did technology do some real wonders in this COVID for the first V, the elite part? I think it actually did. So whether you talk about all the top-end Cambridge schools, IB schools, the high-end CBSE schools, yeah? They were already quite progressive. They had all the means and resources available, the best of the human capital available, the best of the teachers available. And when the challenge came, they were the people who probably performed in the most high flying colors to do that, yeah? So, I mean, this is my personal experience. I run schools in Mumbai and Hyderabad, and I actually had to shut down a school in a city called Bid, which was a third, tier 3, tier 4 city. So this is what is a first-hand experience, yeah? My parents in the city of Hyderabad are 95% IT crowd. They were least impacted by the COVID because everybody had a tablet, everybody had a mobile, everybody had a laptop. They were easily available. Even a nursery, junior KG, senior KG child was very easily connected with us. We could bond with them. We did everything from yoga to dance to music to everything possible online. So the world did not change for us at all. And our teachers were, the best of the lot in that city. So they could do the best of the thing and the delivery that was probably needed and most possible innovative apps, etc., that the best thing that you can probably imagine. Come to a city called Devas, come to a city called Bid where I have my schools. Devas survived, Bid did not. Reasons, one, parents have no access to technology. There was a dearth of devices. There was a dearth of internet. Husband has a mobile phone, wife doesn't. Wife has a mobile phone, mother doesn't. There are 3 children in the house, there's only one device, what do you do with them? And then, of course, the rural economy and etc. things which were impacted, parents straight away came in and told us, can't afford to do this, whether you want to continue, you want to give the TC, you're up to you. So that's the second V. And the third V, of course, is the large masses, which I think, once again, once you go to that deeper analysis of it, you'll find that the dynamics of the country is something which has actually impacted each one of those. But I am completely in sync with what Amol right now mentioned. It's about technology as an aid, technology as a tool, something we were just discussing offline when I was just listening to the previous panel. There has been a great hype about EdTech over the last 2 years. Yes, it is only technology which helped us survive last 2 years. But let's come to understand it was last 2 years and that's done. The moment we are back to the classroom, I think in every panel since morning, everybody, whoever I've heard, they said that emotional touch, that personal connect, that socio-economic bonding, which a school can give you. I think Mr. Anshul Pathak was the one who was talking about this before me. That's something which you really can't imagine being replaced with the best of the technology in the world possible. Yeah, and that is what I think is the most critical factor, success factor, I would say, for any educational ecosystem, whether it is India, abroad, anywhere. You really can't think of, a technology replacing it. So technology in its right place as a right aid in the hands of the right people with the right approach of dealing, preparing those people to deal with it. I think that's what is the approach that's needed going forward.
Right. I think rightly mentioned by you, Sudhir. I think you are also validating the same point which Amol has said that, yes. But again, do you, while saying this, do you see, is there a blind race or there's a rush to use more and more technology to be in competition or something like that?
You're opening a Pandora's box already. So, someone before me, I think in the previous panel, Rikrith and all these people were talking about the big debate between the private sector education and the public sector education. So let's understand this. I mean, given a choice in a very utopian world, um, I have my friends living in US, Canada, etc., etc. You have free education, government taking care of everything. You have best of the things available, paid out of your taxes. I mean, we have different realities to deal with in this country, right? We are a country where 3 or 4% of the people pay taxes for 100% utilization of resources. Yeah. So that is a reality that we're living with. And that is something which has led to a ripple effect of private sector being so dominant or the place where it is. And of course, add to it I have to actually control my words, but the government sector thing, that is the way it is happening and the shape it is. I think everybody in the house knows what the realities are and where are we heading and where we are. So I think that is what has led to the growth of private sector. One of the speakers in earlier session was saying that let's let the people choose, and then it's a people's choice that they want to go to a private school rather than a government school. Now let's understand that's not a choice which is by a very free will. I mean, take an example. I'm not very well deeply informed about what is happening, but at least on the surface of it, what Delhi government did and claimed that, okay, we've created a 5-star infrastructure, 5-star academic, 5-star learning objectives, which are at par or better than the private schools. And therefore, they claim that we have more admissions than the private schools, and there's a big rush of people coming to the government schools. I wish that happens across the country. Though I'm a private school operator, but on a philosophical level, on a different, ideological level, I would say, on a pan-India level, I would love to see the India where education is, equitably available to the entire country. But that's not something which is happening, which has led to the growth of private sector. Now, the moment you give it in the hands of the private sector, of course, there is bound to be, a sense of competitiveness. How much ever we say that, okay, it is, again, at the risk of sounding a little atrocious and maybe, this thing, it's for profit, non-profit, we all know it. Yeah. So, I mean, think about it. The moment you're into a private enterprise, there is bound to be competition. And when you say competition, you try every trick in the book to do that one-upmanship. And technology, unfortunately, has become one such tool. Why? Because even the audiences or your customer, the parent doesn't understand what are you talking about. Yeah, how many of our parents in the best of the schools in the country today understand when you say AI, ML, robotics, this, that, and all? I mean, people who are my dad's generation or even my generation, when I was in college, Facebook was just launched. You tell me what needs to be done on Facebook and I can do it like this, right? And the moment you give it to me on Instagram, I'm a dumb person. I don't know how to operate Instagram. Why? Because there's no time to operate Instagram. So that's the pace of technology with which it's going. And with every passing year, a generation becomes obsolete, right? That is what is happening. Today, I'm great with Facebook, or Instagram I'm not. Something else will come up tomorrow, and I'll be absolutely zero. So that is what is going to happen. And then these technology tools become gimmicks, right? They become tools for you to sell the product. I mean, you have those people, every week, I think I'll have at least 4 or 5 edtech companies coming to me and telling me that, okay, take this product and do a revenue share and this, that. You need to understand that, okay, now in today's time, even a parent understands that there is a revenue share. Yeah, and every person coming to me, I will tell them straight away, boss, listen, if your product has the material in it, come to my PTM, talk to my parents, present and offer it like an optional thing. I don't want to be labeled a chore, okay, commission kha raha hai, baith ke product leke aaya. I don't want to do that. I am having enough that I need of my school operations. So I think this is something which started long back. When maybe companies like EduComp or something was launched, 2010, 8, 11 years, these are the times when all these things started, and maybe education system was new to all these commercial ways of operating in those days. Today, I think everybody in the hall knows the tricks of the trade, why is it happening, what is happening, and even the parents know it. So it's better to avoid those things. Let's talk merit. Let's talk something which is absolutely substantial, and maybe in that sense, we'll some way do justice to the cause of education that we are ideally supposed to be doing.
Right. I think rightly mentioned by you. And when I speak to you, Mr. Rathor, I am one of your so many social media followers. I follow you on social media, and you have been proactive and progressive in your thoughts about technology pre-COVID also. So I would like to know from you that be it in terms of procurement of technology or moving towards technology in your schools or industry in general, how it has been impacted and what change do you see now in terms of using next gen tech in K12 education?
So first of all, I would like to thank ET government for inviting me and giving me this platform to speak in front of such a august gathering. See, first I wanted to say the pandemic. During the pandemic, whatever disruption of technology happened, if pandemic not come, will not have not come, we cannot see for next 10 years. The kind of teachers in preschools specifically and budget schools we have, they are not so technologically aware and upgraded. They even many of them even don't know how to before the pandemic how to operate a computer. Many of them, not all, many of them. So thanks to COVID, out of all the odds, this is the positive outcome what we can utilize in the future and today also. Another thing, what I have seen every year in November, December, we can see the schools closer due to pollution in Delhi. And this year also, school was closed for very few days, 3-4 days in Noida, not in Delhi, in Noida. And this time, the order came was the school will operate on digital mode. This is the change what I have seen because of this education technology system what all of us have adopted. So even for a single day, the school was not closed for the children. Physically it was closed, but not for the children education. So this is the positive thing. Secondly, when I launched my school brand some 13 years back, we are going to complete 13 years next month. So 13 years back when we started our preschool brand Sanfort, the first school I launched with the technology only. So we were the first one who started having that touch screen panels in my preschools 13 years back. And that point of time, there was no touch screen panel, small touch screen panel was available in the country. I had to import it. And I had to procure some tools, software tools from the outside of the country. So this is the kind of technology involvement I have done from the day one in my system. See, the way technology changed early year education, the interest of the children and the response of the parent, it was great. But if I talk about the role of technology disruption, what we can have, we can see, we can expect in the future, this pandemic has taught me, I don't know how many of you will be agreed, we cannot, in a country of 140 crores population, we cannot talk about, as Sudhir said, of the children or the student in the cities like Delhi, Mumbai, Bangalore, Hyderabad, or Pune, or Jaipur, or any city, big cities, B-grade cities, or A-grade cities or metros. We need to understand their majority of the children are still residing in rural areas. And majority of the children are still there in EWS category in cities like these cities. So we need to understand what role technology can play for their quality education. See, I have understood, maybe in future, maybe 2 years down the line or 5 years down the line, you can see the schools in the village delivering same quality education what our children are having in the cities like Delhi, Mumbai, Bangalore, because of the technology only. See, lots of technology companies has come up during these 2 years. All are not doing good. Their products are not stable. But out of those, n number of technology companies, there are several companies who are doing fantastic job. See, we don't have infrastructure in rural area. We don't have good teachers in rural area to teach, because teacher whoever is grown up और जो भी teacher अच्छा पढ़ाना सीख जाता है वो दिल्ली जैसे शहर में आ जाता है, because no school will give that kind of salary what he or she is expecting there, one thing. Second thing, the quality of life. Anybody, I belongs to village. I'm sitting in front of you people just because my father moved to Delhi. So everybody looks for the better future of his or her own and their kids also. So they move from village to the cities. But we can prepare, as we prepared our teachers of budget private schools or government schools or preschools. Elite school छोड़ दीजिए उसमें से, as Sudhir said. We prepared our teachers during the pandemic to deliver digital classes. Similarly, we can prepare our teachers in the rural area to facilitate the lectures, what he or she is having from because of the technology. Teacher sitting in this hall can take the lecture. One thing. Second thing, the classroom size cannot be limited for the 40 students as far as CBSE is concerned. A teacher can take class of 1,000 schools at the same time. And quality content will be delivered in the village, in the semi-rural area, in the EWS area, everywhere, one thing. Second thing, those schools can become center of excellence. Maybe as a example, maybe one in a district initially. I have given this proposal to some government department also. Maybe as for the pilot. Then from where we get that good those things, labs. That is again a big problem. We don't have good labs in rural areas. Then digital labs are there now. At my time, I am a science student. So at my time, dissection हम लोग करते थे, मेंढक को काटते थे, चूहों को काटते थे, छोटा सा सब नजर आता था अंदर. But now, because of augmented reality, you can have of everything you can experience on the screen. These kind of digital lab we can create. So I am very optimistic about the upgradation of the standard of quality of the education in rural area, semi-rural area, because of the education technology. Or education technology, when we talk about, we talk about we, as Sudhir said very well, what we stands for. We miss the teachers, the policy makers, and the society and children. These four things will be included in we. Society has already started accepting the real truth. Technology can deliver the good quality education everywhere. It cannot replace the physical classroom, but जो रूरल एरिया का मॉडल मैं बता रहा हूँ, वहाँ पे भी एक फैसिलिटेटर है, बच्चे बैठे हैं, लेकिन basically that is a physical classroom. But because we don't have good teachers in that area, that's why the teacher sitting in Amol's school or in Sudhir's school or my school deliver the lecture there. And that guy is just explaining those things. So I think this kind of disruption we can see in the coming years, and that will change the face of the education in the country.
That's actually, Mr. Rathor, you have touched a very larger concept of education at a mass level, mass education, and your plan, your vision, which you also have shared with the government there. Definitely, I think if an educator like you, who has a large ecosystem of educators who are there to deliver education in a right way and in a most modern way, and if there is a government's digital ecosystem, because government is developing and mostly after pandemic, they are developing a digital ecosystem where at every Gaon Dhani level, they will be having internet facilitation. So there, if you overlap, an educator overlap their system there, I think then it will be reaching. Yeah.
So I tell you, during the pandemic only, during maybe somewhere in 2020 only, September, October, I don't remember the month. So I advocated in several webinars, why can't we have this online education board, school education board? So now it has come into picture under NIOS education board is there. This is not because of me. I think many, edupreneur like me
Exactly.
must have advocated about it.
Exactly.
So there is no need of CBSE in that case. If we have in rural area we are delivering quality education, child can appear for the online education examination, and he or she will be at par with the student passing from CBSE if he is scoring the same percentage of marks.
Right. So I think, Amol, I'll come back to you. Sudhir spoke about a very clear difference between a government education and a private education, and the role of technology here. Mr. Rathor spoke about how there can be a combo of education through digital medium, and so that at mass level we can reach to the people. But I would like to ask you one thing: your thoughts on this, as you mentioned in your initial remarks, that the teachers who were not so literate in technology, they are now have become quite technology literate or technology educated. I would like to ask you, what have been the challenges and what are the challenges still persisting in training those teachers or skilling those teachers, as there was a session also skilling the skiller. So how can a teacher can be trained and skilled in using technology the best possible way to transfer the education from them to a student?
I think both questions have a similar answer. You have to look, it's about the humans, and ultimately, why should they behave in a certain way? Now, whether it is 1,000 children attending a super teacher classroom or a teacher having to adapt her ways, now you have to first think, why should that person change? Now, is there a lack of content even today? No, there is not. I mean, today I can do my BTech also level engineering on YouTube, and this content is never a challenge. So I'm not a very big proponent of a super teacher kind of a classroom. I would rather have the human element first and let the other things be around it, built around it. So rather than having one person teaching 1,000 children, what the YouTube pe already hai. So and it works. I mean, we've seen with the failures of MOOCs and which have been there for, Moodle's been there forever. It's been free of cost. YouTube's been there forever. It only works for the highly motivated, self-motivated individual who actually looks up this content and wants to do that. Otherwise, so today the knowledge is not limited to the encyclopedias and the libraries or just the textbooks. Now that it's all out there, it's on your mobile phone. Similarly, for teachers, why should they change now? Now, the first thing, when you bring something technology to a classroom is you have to think from the teacher's perspective. From a top-down, it sounds, bahut acha hai, bacche enjoy karenge. See, as a management, when I invest in technology, I see either of two aspects. Either it has to give me a marketing return on investment. Parents are impressed, my admissions बढ़ जाएंगे. Just Mr. Rathor was saying, children have fun, wow, and admissions बढ़ गए. Second, is there an actual change in the learning attributes of children? Can we achieve the same grades faster? Can they learn better? Will I see, which again comes down to my ROI comes in terms of better reputation and then better business at the end of the day. So I need a ROI for that. Now, when I look at it, that's us we, it's different. But teachers ka we different hai. They think ab ye bhi seekhna padega. In COVID times, it was different. As I was saying, there was a need for them to stay relevant, otherwise you become a dinosaur. What's the need now? We are back to the old ways, where teachers think, we bring something flashy. I get an AR card. अब ये 3 period में मुझे germination of plants पढ़ाना है, अब कह रहे हैं ये भी पढ़ा बच्चों के साथ cards भी करो. So unless, see, we can always focus on saying we can do more teacher training, because requirement है, we need passionate educators, but वो क्यों करेंगे? For them, it's like they're thinking अभी ये भी करना पड़ेगा. I mean, Sudhir was talking about अब Instagram सीखना पड़ेगा. And here he's complaining, somebody who's very tech savvy is complaining about Instagram. And what about those poor teachers जिनको exposure नहीं है, who took up teaching just because और कोई career नहीं मिला था? So you have to look at from the teacher's perspective, why should they change? And I think it all boils down to the standardized testing that we are still doing with the class 12. And I'm coming back to the same point that I said. Let's change that first. Let's find out better ways of assessing children and what career paths they should go for. NEP talks about the other skill sets, vocational studies, and they form brilliant careers. And today, YouTubers are making a lot of money. Why just plumbing? Why not YouTubing as a skill set as for vocational training? Why can't the children start doing it in class 10th, 11th? Why do you need to go on when you think of skill set, why you think of vocational only on that? Why not become an Instagrammer also. That's also a skill set which any 10-year-old can also become. So I think we need to change the way, see, the way you judge people is the way they're going to behave. And abhi bhi, every May, there are school principals here, हम लोग क्या करते हैं? We take पिछली ad निकालो, पिछले बच्चों की फोटो डालो, हटाओ, नए फोटो डालते हैं, congratulations, इतने बच्चे ये, इतने बच्चे ये, इतने बच्चे, because that's how we are judged. I have seen in cities where parents have actually made a comparison chart of class 12th marks, and that's going around in WhatsApp groups, कि इस school में इतने percentage, 90%ers, इतने. So if the society, if the schools themselves are judging what our quality, our performance of our teachers based on that class 12th result, why are you telling them कि आप ये technology भी सीखो, smart class भी करो, ये भी करो? उनको तो पता है कि end में होना तो वही है, marks अच्छे आए. And as leaders also, if a teacher is really good delivering toppers, I will not disturb her. तुम्हें tech नहीं करना, ना करो. So what COVID has done is has made us flexible. As Mr. Rathor said कि छुट्टी हो गया तो we went to online. So it has made us flexible. We can immediately shift. But there is that inertia has come back into, and as sad as it may sound, this is what is going to happen. Where do I see the change happening? I think once we are able to use, I have great hopes on AI. That's where I see with a lot of data coming in from different machine learning points. If we can do a better assessment, which is not necessarily based on one exam, you'll see more holistic learning. Because our websites, all of our websites of all schools look the same, they say the same, all-round development, holistic development, and ultimately, as I said, वो NCERT ही करा रहे हैं 9th and 10th में. And वही रट रहे हैं, इससे ये तो syllabus में नहीं है, क्यों पढ़ रहे हो? So we're doing the same thing, we're all saying the same thing, we're all doing the same thing. So why can you blame the teachers for that not reacting, or they do not have the reason, the passion, the motivation? So first is unka change karo na. Tell them that if you do this, this is what is going to happen to you, and this is how it's going to make your life easier. It should be sold to them rather than imposed. Right now, we impose something, buy it, and we get all the teachers in the training room. अच्छा ये company वाला है, ये training करेंगे घंटे में, आपको use करना है. And he's like, क्या है अब ये क्या आ गया बीच में, अब ये क्या करना पड़ेगा? I have to do this now. पहले ही salary नहीं मिल रही था, इतना कम salary में इतना काम करा रहे हैं. So I think this is where we need to think from teachers' perspective when we're making decisions. I made this mistake in 2004 when I set up one of the country's first smart classes in 2004. And I thought it was a fantastic idea. Teachers couldn't get it. Kya hai ye? So I think this is where I've learned the hard way. You need to think of the teachers. If you really want to bring about change in the schools, in the classrooms, think of the teachers first and then make your decisions around it. I think that's where we're going wrong right now. And I think most of the selling is not to the teachers, as Sudhir says, you say, parents को convince कर दो, parents मान जाए तो मैं ले लूँगा. But the problem is the teachers. They're thinking, kya hai? And that's why edtechs keep failing. And that's why I call edtech the graveyard for people think. People are very positive about edtech. मैं school गया हूँ तो मुझे edtech, I know how to solve the school system because I have been in school for 14 years. Just like me saying मैं गाड़ी में बैठा था, I'm a mechanical engineer. I have no idea what happens inside the car. Similarly, most of these edtech companies, the problem is they are driven by 90% of the people are engineers, 20-30% are management postgraduates. They don't have any teacher in the class, in their management team. And they have a hammer in their hand and they're looking for nails to hit. Why did Uber succeed? Because they had taxi drivers there. How many of them actually have teachers? Understanding what is a teacher's problem, can you make their lives easier? Then come with a solution. Tablets आ गए, sir, school में tablet लगवा लो. क्या करूँ tablet का? Sir, इसमें, as Sudhir said, sir, 6,000 रुपए का parents को बेचेंगे, 4,000 रुपए मिलता है, 1,000 रुपए अपना. Then they go blank. So I think that's where I think the core problem is. Think of the teachers, what motivates them, inspire them, drive them, talk to them, build a better team around them, constantly, like a coach, you need to be there. And I think that's when even substandard technology will work very well. Today, a lot of schools are using WhatsApp for communication. It's working brilliantly for communication. क्या problem है? कोई problem नहीं है. कभी-कभी बस ये है कि हाँ, parents एक दूसरे से chat करना शुरू कर देते हैं, but otherwise, we are doing it. अगर नहीं बनाएंगे तो parents ने अपना WhatsApp group वैसे ही बना लिया बाहर. So it's better that you only do it, right? So it's not about the technology, it's about the people. And I think that's what we keep forgetting.
Absolutely correct. And all the edtech players who are here in the hall, please think twice before approaching Amol, because I think he's a hard nut to crack.
I might have sounded a bit cynical, but aisa nahi hai. I think all the innovation in education is going to come from outside the schools. But I think we need to break down, work more in partnerships. I think schools have a lot to bring, and I think that partnership is missing. I think that's what I feel. They are working in isolation, we are working in isolation, we don't understand each other so well. And most edtech people feel that they don't need. I think जब आते हैं अच्छा अब इसका पैसा कौन 200 रुपये कौन देगा पेरेंट्स लड़ेंगे इससे अच्छा सुधीर सेड आप लोग पेरेंट्स कहते हैं तो ठीक है नहीं तो आई एम ओके विदाउट यू ऑल्सो मेरा काम ठीक चल रहा है.
No, that is, actually that's right. We should not implement anything just to implement. There should be a viability of it and feasibility in real sense. Sudhir, I would like to come back to you on this. What are your thoughts on this? If you
I think I'll pick up 2 points from what Amol just mentioned. One is a very touching subject in India. One is teachers, and the other is edtech. So, first of all, I don't think it's only Amol who has these thoughts. Any edtech company approaching any school management, you should know that, the person who's sitting in that chair, he's spent his life there. He's not someone who's just built a product in maybe a year, 2 years. Yes, you might be the best tech guy in the city, but then there has been an extensive amount of experience that has gone in dealing with human beings, which is the most essence of any education system. And the second, I think, why I said it's a touchy part, Amol, somewhere in his discourse, ended up mentioning that people become teachers because they don't get something else to do. I've always tried avoiding that statement, because I know there are some great teachers who are passionate and that's why they are in this field. But the key word is some. I mean, I was an investment banker before I got into education. So there are some. But then, a large majority, I think he was absolutely right. And
thanks for correcting me on that.
I'm sorry?
I'll back you on that. Thanks for correcting me. Of course it is, yes. Not a generic statement at all.
So, the challenge is today, I mean, I think we are all educationists sitting in this hall. But if I were to ask each one of us sitting here, do we actually nurture our next generation? Is he, wanting to nurture his son or a daughter into a teacher tomorrow morning? No. Business of education? Yes. A teacher? The answer is no. And everybody knows this. So I am wanting my child to go to an IIT. I want my child to go to an IIM. I want my child to go to an Harvard, not to become a teacher. I want him to become a business magnate, get into entrepreneurship, do whatever. And I think that's the very sad reality of this world. We say that, okay, Finland is the #1 education system in the world. This is good, that is bad. But we have to somewhere look at it. I mean, I'm really thankful I'm sitting on a platform with Economic Times and hopefully this is reaching some right people. We need to invest in that human capital. We need to make teaching and education as a aspirational career. Do I want to become a teacher for the purpose of becoming a teacher? I mean, we talk about Finland, but look at the status of a teacher in Finland. That's probably equal to an IAS officer or maybe even bigger, right? It takes a hell lot to become a teacher. In US, you have so many certificates to clear before you enter into a first regional school. And that is where I think the most important aspect of it is that teaching as a profession, teaching as a service, teaching as a job is something that needs a lot more passion. Having said this, hats off to the people who are driving the education of this country. Trust me, it's only passion which is driving. Otherwise, the salaries that we are paying to teachers in this country is shameful. That's the word. Sitting in the chair of a management, I would say this is shameful. I mean, a fresh graduate out of an engineering college who's landing into a TCS or an Infosys who hire like herds together gets paid much more than a 10-year experienced teacher. So why would my next generation want to become a teacher? I mean, I opened a school which was a very prestigious high-end school in Aurangabad. The first 1,500 people applied for becoming teacher for me to hire 50 teachers. And a fundamental question that I asked is, out of these 1,500 CVs that I've received to become a teacher, there's not even one CV from the top 10 schools of the city. So there is an absolute brain drain of things happening. Anybody studying in Aurangabad, and I'm sure this is true of all the other cities as well, it's a by default thing. Clear your 12th class, shift to Pune. Get an IT job, that's your career. There's nothing in Aurangabad, leave it. So either there are labor class people or big industrialists, that's the two things. And that is the story, I think, with most of the people, cities that you will have. So that is the need, like Amol was saying, we have to have those teachers at the center of our thing, because these are the people who are actually going to become the role models of tomorrow. We say that schools are shaping the future, but who's shaping? The buildings are not shaping the future. It's the teachers who are sitting there. And if they are not invested in, if they are not nurtured well, if they are not taken care of, if they are not happy, if they are not excited about what they're doing, I think there's a big gap. And in fact, that's probably one reason why you have all these edtechs coming in. If we had the best of the engineers, best of the brains inside the school campuses, we wouldn't have actually required to go outside and get that particular thing. So it's the imbalance which is there in the education system, which is leading to all these things. And maybe this leads a much larger brainstorming and a thought process to probably go into course correction, which of course will take decades. You can't change things overnight, but at least there has to be a work in that direction, which I think is the path to go.
No, that's right. I think Sudhir, you have stressed upon very important issue of how much teacher has a value in this ecosystem, whether in terms of the product or whether in terms of their remuneration, salaries, everything. Mr. Rathor, I would like to ask you that leveraging technology, how does it empower? How much does it empower a teacher? Do you think in future a more skilled teacher would be more payable, will be more employable? Also, what will be the role of technology in a life of a teacher? Because teacher is the center of the discussion. Right?
Yeah, yeah. So before talking about use of technology, what we can have in empowering the skills of the teachers in future, I just wanted to mention one thing. See, in our country, normally we spend some 15-20% of our income in our child's education, and the government spends some 2-3% of the GDP budget. So some 2-3%, 3%. So this is the reason there is a big gap. See, government is spending some 3% of their budget on the education, and they are paying some 70,000 rupees or 1 lakh or 1.5 lakh rupees to the teacher or principal or vice principal or headmistress. And Vinesh or me or Amol or see, हमारे केस में तो हमारे बच्चे अपने स्कूलों में पढ़ते हैं, but they are paying some 15,000, 20,000, 30,000 rupees per month, means out of 15-20% of their income for the private school education, and private schools are not paying well. That's bad, one thing. If the children are studying in premium preschools, if I talk, but larger part of the children who are going into private schools are in budget private schools. They struggles to meet out their expenses, because they are charging some 800 rupees, 15,000 rupees, 1,000 rupees or 500 rupees also. How can they meet out the expense, and how can they pay the salaries at par with the premium preschools or premium schools or government schools? So there is a big gap across the sector, basically. So now I'll come to your question. If we talk about skilling of the teachers with the help of technologies, so this is already happening for years in premium preschools, on premium schools, elite class, or maybe the school who are built keeping in the mind of the higher middle class, or even rather now in middle class also. So the school who are charging some 5,000 rupees in the cities like Delhi and NCR, some 5,000 rupees and above, they are doing all these things. Many of the schools are doing for years, and many of the schools have started just because of the pandemic. Now it is a part of the system. But the challenge is how to skill the teacher. Again, I come to that point, how to skill the teachers of budget school who don't have that kind of budget to bring much of technology in their system. That is the major issue, because majority of the teachers are there. Majority of teachers are there who need to be skilled, basically. So I think now many of the government tools are there, coming up in future also, many tools. So with the help of those tools, mass level पे हम लोगों को काम करने की आवश्यकता है उन बजट स्कूल्स की टीचर्स को स्किल करने के लिए. तो ये बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है. वन थिंग, टू मोटिवेट द टीचर टू decide the people sitting there and here to bring their next generation into education field itself, we need to enhance the, their salary and reputation. Reputation also, because I tell you, in my school, एक 6th क्लास के स्टूडेंट को टीचर ने कुछ बोला और टीचर बोला कि वो टीचर को बोलता है मैडम देखो आपको जाना पड़ेगा स्कूल से, मैं तो जाऊंगा नहीं. This is the kind of confidence today's student have कि अगर मैंने कोई कंप्लेंट की तो मैनेजमेंट विल नॉट टेक एक्शन अगेंस्ट मी, management will take action against the teacher only. So this is the kind of rules we have created. This is the kind of system is there in our country now. At my time when I was in school, I am a product of government school in Delhi. गवर्नमेंट स्कूल से पढ़ने के बाद वहाँ पर वो पेड़ लगे रहते थे बहुत सारे, उसी पे से डेली एक डंडी तोड़ी जाती थी और उसी से सबको पढ़ाया जाता था. तो I don't advocate that kind of system again into school, but there must be some rules which should be allowed in the school to monitor the behavior of the student, and if it is required there must be some kind of system to bring into school education. I can't use word sitting on this platform, so that बच्चे को एक fear होना चाहिए. अभी बच्चे को fear नहीं है. आप 8 तक तो उसको फेल ही नहीं कर सकते. तो पेरेंट भी आएगा तो हमारे पेरेंट जब जाते थे स्कूल तो हमारे पेरेंट को अगर पहले हमारे टाइम पे तो पीटीएम नाम की कोई चीज़ नहीं होती थी, तो टीचर्स भी वहीं आसपास ही रहते थे, तो रास्ते में भी मिल जाते थे, तो हमें डर लगता था कि पापा से आज टीचर मिल गए हैं तो शायद कुछ शाम को हमारी क्लास ना लगे. तो अभी वो फियर नहीं है. Whenever the parent will come for the PTM, parent argue for half an hour to justify the reason के क्यों उसके बच्चे ने ऐसा किया. So this is the thing. So not only technology, human behavior we have to
That's right.
bring into system again.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah, but I think your views are well respected, but these views might be debatable. Because because we have come so far ahead of those times, and as Amol also said that there should be there is a content, there is education is there in front of us. There is a need to be enthusiastic. Enthusiasm to be there in the students, and I don't think enthusiasm can come from a fear.
See, for that reason, what I have started in my schools. See, we have made a club of teachers and mothers, basically, not parents, mothers. So in that case, we are trying to bring a harmony in the school, between the school and the parents,
Right.
and more understanding between the parent and teachers, so that they can understand the problem, what actually is there, and come out with the solution.
Right.
That is the thing, because there is a big issue with the understanding with the parents also. Today, the parent is not ready to understand what is the problem. So this is we need to do all these kind of exercises in the school, whether with the help of technology or with
Right.
digitally, because many of the parents are not able to come in school many times, digitally or physically also.
Maybe this digital and technology may improve the communication, and with the better communication, I think there'll be.
I think I'll add something to this.
Yes, please.
What
You can
Mr.
also take it as your closing remarks.
So, what Mr. Rathor mentioned was not really a sense of fear. I think a right word probably would be that there needs to be a sense of respect, right? Because when you're looking at a teacher, someone who's actually shaping your career, shaping your life, you need to have a sense of gratitude and a sense of respect towards it. And that element is something which is kind of lost, right? And we need to bring it back. Of course, not with an element of fear, maybe call it an element of discipline, right? Because in the early years of a child, when he's growing up, along with the knowledge, skill set, everything, there is a very important component of a disciplined life. That's what you're shaping the child towards. So I think that will be my closing remark here, that it's an element of discipline and a respect, which is a very important part.
Yeah. Give 1 minute of yours to this question which is there in the topic. Are we ready for the future disruption? Is there a technology disruption in K12 education? Give me a 1 minute and closing.
Well, I think I'd like to end it on a positive note. Yes, there is a disruption. There are things that we've done in the last 2 years, which like everybody said in 10 years, wouldn't have been possible. While I was talking about the challenges at the rural end, you have a YouTube which has reached every nook and corner of the world. You have an influencer sitting in maybe in some corner of Jharkhand who probably has a 3 million, 5 million followers and is becoming paid for that influencer. You have the best of technology communication tools which has led to. So the fact that you just said that we don't need fear, this thing is something which has actually been very, I would say very, very efficiently percolated to the minds of every parent. I mean, I remember my first school when I started, parents used to come in, isko maroge nahi to seekhega kaise? But now parents have also stopped talking that language. They've understood that what is needed is a positive motivation rather than an element of fear or a threat. That's not what is needed. And thanks to technology, a lot of things have changed. There are things, like Mr. Rathor was mentioning, there are things which we can do without technology. I think one of the things Raghav Podar talked about on this particular topic. So, when an edtech company comes to me and says that, okay, here is a AI solution with which you can show an apple or a fruit or something to a child, I tell him, boss, listen, I can get a kg of apple and show him, right? When I can show it physically, I'll rather do that. I'll take a child to a nursery or a zoo and show him the live animals. But the moment he talks about a dissection, the moment he talks about a chemical reaction, those are the things which you probably do not have the resources available, right, to replicate them in every possible nook and corner of the country. And that is where the technology becomes an enabler, right? If government or a private institution, you end up investing in one particular piece of content, put it on a website, it is accessible worldwide, right? It could be millions and billions of children across the country. So I think, yes, there is a huge and crazy amount of technology disruption that has taken place. It's just that we need to be in the right direction with the right products, not becoming too pushy about everything that, okay, just because I have created something, I feel that, okay, this should be done. And like Amol was saying, you need to understand the needs of the ecosystem. You need to understand that it's absolutely desired from the end of a teacher or a parent or a child that I take a child to a experiential learning environment where I actually show him a plant or an animal or a fruit or whatever as long as possible. I mean, this is how I train my teachers. As long as possible, try and give them a physical, real-life experience.
Right.
The moment it is not, technology is there for you to assist.
Right.
That's what I think should be the approach,
Right.
a blended format of it.
Right, Sudhir, thank you for your closing remarks. Quick closing remarks from you, Amol. Are we ready for the future tech disruption?
Yes, much better than we were 2 years back. I think we are now ready for something to hit. I think we all are okay with an open mind. So I think we are much more flexible now than, that inertia is much less because we know things could change overnight, whether it's a war, whether it's anything, another biological war. So I think we're ready for that. Has the current change, would you call it disruption? No, but there's definitely a big change going forward. Right from children are now, Physics Wala is a brilliant example. And of course, children consuming content on YouTube, taking online tuitions through Zoom with professors who are outside their region, to children communicating and collaborative learning at home. My son was learning on Discord and he was discussing his Spanish exam with friends and they were helping him out on a Discord server together. And I've never seen anything like that happen. So I think a lot of changes have happened post-COVID and that we are not back to the status quo. But so I'm happy about that. And will it continue to evolve? Yes, it will. Not at the rate that happened the last 2 years. And definitely, we are much ready for the future now. I think we are very future ready in terms of edtech outside the school system as well as schools as well.
Perfect. Thank you, Mr. Amol. And finally, Mr. Rathor, a quick closing remarks from you.
So, I'm a strong believer of technology. As I said, I started my first preschool with the inclusion of technology only. So, as I said earlier also, technology is going to change the face of the education in the country. And right technology, as Sudhir said, on right time with the skilling of the teachers, because teachers is the one who will deliver in the classroom, and at the same time skilling of the parents is also required, because parents also need to understand why we are using that particular technology and what is the outcome of that technology. See, only thing is during last 2 years mushrooming of edtech companies happened, and this is very difficult to find out the right product. What kind of technology product we are using, we have to use in our school for particular thing. We need to understand that. Otherwise, I think education is not possible, quality education is not possible, communication is not possible without the technology, even today and in the future also.
Right. I think we have to conclude here, and it's the panelists accept that yes, there is a disruption of technology, and we are also ready for it because post-pandemic we have seen a lot of digital, and we have accustomed ourselves to that. So it is there. But again, it comes with a lot of challenges, a set of challenges, and there are some understandings that have to be made, like technology should be an enabler, not should be on top of everything. EdTech should sync with educator, not only, it should be a mix of a technocrat and educator, that is rightly said there. Teachers, who are the center point of this ecosystem, they have to be more empowered, and technology can play a big role. And as you also mentioned, Mr. Rathor, that at mass education level also, technology can play a great role. But as Mr. Amol said, that there should be something different in terms of going digital and going to the masses. So wonderful discussion. Though there's a lot to discuss on technology and next-gen technology in education, but we have a limitation of time. And I think question also, I think the panelists are here. You can offline ask them questions, because we'll be then closing for tea or something, or next session. So we'll be moving on to the next session, then we'll be closing this hall. So here, I can take one question if you have any question, or, okay, so one question only I'll take, and a quick question, and we'll request panelists to make a quick answer to it.
Good evening. My name is Vishal. I run a EdTech platform for teachers, and I get the comments. So this has been a revolutionary session for me. Luckily, we are 80% teachers in our team, so I think we satisfy that criteria as well. My question to you, and this is pure from my understanding, what does an ideal teacher training solution look like for private schools? What is the ideal teacher training solution for you from a private school perspective? What would you seek for in an EdTech player helping you upskill teachers?
You want us to help us with you with product development?
Absolutely.
Okay, what would ideally, I think one, it should be certification based. I think that will drive a lot of teachers. So figure out if you got a EdTech teacher training, I would think of what kind of because in India today, certifications are something which people run after. When I was talking about motivation, why should I do something? I think certificates would work very well. And of course, I think rather than having long lectures where your heads go down like this for teachers, think about micro-learning as well. Think about better assessments, interesting gamification. If you can build in these kind of elements into the program and coupled with the human element. So if you look at these, I think example would be to look at these fitness apps which are now coming up. There's a human calling them up, sir, aapka number now, you not take a number of steps. And that's what is required. If you just leave somebody with an app and say, "Achha, ye lo technology, aur aap train ho jaoge," nahi. So you have to find who's going to drive it. Is it the schools? So either have the driver as a school or a kind of a telecounselor to do that. And if you can do that, keep pushing to the human element, build the technology around it, give you better data assessments. The teacher knows where I'm going, where I'm supposed to go with this, and that certification carries some value in my career. For me, that will be the ideal teacher training solution.
Okay, so here we'll wrap it up, and thank you so much, panelists, for sparing your time and for this wonderful interaction. Here we close the discussion.